is John Frankfurter. He's going to do the Watch Me Build, an S-scale scratch-built bridge. John, welcome.
Remember, you're muted, John. Okay. Let's do a recap from last week. We looked at my layout to say where the bridge is going to go. We talked about a design I found on the internet. Are we live now?
Yes.
Yes, okay. We are. We're looking at my layout to see where the bridge goes. We looked at a design I found on the internet. We talked about how I sized the bridge to fit the span that I had to cover. I designed the bridge in the CAD program, and I cut out the sides with the laser. So what's next? I had a few questions about my design. They said, well, it doesn't look like a real bridge because the sides were flat. Well, you know, this is my first scratch-built bridge design, so I wanted to test out my laser since a lot of kits are coming out laser cut now. So I wanted to try my hand at cutting out the bridge. It is missing the cross braces on the sides. I realized that after I got them all cut out, but those can be added in afterwards. The gussets and the rivets didn't look real. Well, another thing, this is my first design, and I thought they looked pretty good. I could have used glue-on gussets and rivets. Well, I'm not really sure that I could find any in S gauge that would fit my bridge. So anyway, take those with a grain of salt, and we'll move on. So this is the deck for my bridge. You're going to ask, why didn't I extend the planks out to the ends? Well, the ends is where, if you remember from the last one, I have 2 inches of foam on each side of my table, or on the table. So this is actually the decking is actually supporting everything. I mean, the side frames are more or less just a decoration. So in my CAD program, I set it up so I measured the width of the ties across there, and I cut a pocket in there so that my track would fit in there. And if you look right down here, I left, I think there's about a 1/2 inch piece of wood in there on both sides. That's so I can attach the side rails or the side frames to that. So here's what it looks like with the side frames in place. That's just going to get glued into place there. When I started putting it together, I decided to use 3/16 Plastruct I-beam pieces. I chose 3/16 because that's what S gauge is 3/16. So I figure I'm just guessing they're going to be a foot. So when I got these pieces glued in here, and I used super glue, that sort of formed a pocket that the deck would sit in. So I used the Plastruct up here for the top of the bridge, and that's what forms the pocket that the deck sits in. And then this is my what held the bottom frame pieces together. So then I had to go back in and figure out, go back into the design software, and I had to I looked at a bunch of different bridges, and this is basically sort of the bracing that they use. Like I said, I missed the bracing that goes top to bottom on the sides, but I can add those in later. I used balsa wood for this one because I ran out of basswood, and I found out that's a big mistake since balsa wood's a lot softer. It burns quicker on the laser, and it breaks real easy when you start cutting these small pieces. Because I don't know if you can see in some of these, I have there's real tiny holes in there. It's to simulate the structure of an actual cross beam in there. And when I was gluing these into place, I did break a couple of them. And the nice thing about that was you just go back over to the laser and make a couple more. Whenever I make a model now, I try to add the name of since I modeled Norfolk Southern on my layout. This is my Norfolk Southern Bridge. It was done in 2020 and it was made by me. So that's in the very center support in the center of the bridge. I used Krylon Deep Gray. Seemed to cover really nice with the wood and the plastic, Plastistruct. Sprayed it, didn't get any runs. Had no problems with it as far as it covered the wood and the plastic just fine. So after I got it all put together, I just sort of set it into place. And you can see right here where this is where the decking overlaps the 2-inch foam on each side. So I put it in place, and I thought it looked pretty good. So the next, in the last wrap up, I'm going to be cutting out the foam right here on both sides, and there'll be pylons put in there. And we'll talk about that next week. There are some other things. I'm adding a handrail up here, some steps. John, the engineer, is going to be up there watching everything. So hopefully that'll wrap up my scratch build. And even though it's not technically a S-gauge bridge, I think it looks really good on my layout now that it's finished. I'll on the next week, I'll show some pictures of my other bridge where it's setting side by side on my gorge that's finished. And you know, for doing this without any plans, without any plans to measure off of, I think this turned out pretty good. It looks like a really nice bridge, and we'll see you next week for the wrap up. That's all I have.
Does anybody have any questions for John? Well, John, I don't know about the other people. I understand the comments that you've gotten. I think you got a beautiful product there, very, very nice, and nothing to back away from at all. That's a beautiful model.